I'm not Jeff Keighley, and this isn't the Game Awards, but this is the best indie game of 2024. As you can tell by the fat letters above my head, this is Skald. But you might be wondering, what is this game? What is it made of? What is your point here? Why is this supposedly the best indie game of 2024? Well, let me take you on a little road trip to show you just how good this game actually is. So as we know, this year Astrobot won Game of the Year, and last year that was Baldur's Gate 3. So it showed that a lot of people like types of games like Baldur's Gate 3. Well, I can tell you already that if you like Baldur's Gate 3, you're gonna like Skald, because it's pretty much the same game, only just in a different coat of paint. A very pixelated coat of paint. Most things are very pixelated, as you can tell, but what makes this game interesting, next to of course the pixelated gameplay you see behind me, is that you actually have more detailed things, like for instance this, which is really cool because that adds to the element of how the game's story is made. The game is very dark. It's a dark RPG, it's dark fantasy, there's a lot of really weird things that happen, and there's also a lot of brutal things that happen during this game. But I don't want to spoil the story too much, because if you're actually willing to play this game for the low price of, I don't even remember, maybe like 20 bucks if it even was that much, you're gonna want to understand like what the story is about. Skald Against the Black Priory follows the rules of a traditional D&D style game. It's going to have you doing rolls the entire time. It's going to make you roll for initiative. It's going to do a lot of different things that you would find in a D&D match, or, as I already said, in Baldur's Gate 3. Another interesting element that you don't usually see in video games is how it handles its crafting. So a lot of times you find crafting recipes throughout the game. Very simple, very easy. You use the crafting recipe as you see it. However, there are actually other ways of getting crafting recipes, which is basically every item, every ingredient you find for either cooking or alchemy will tell you what it is used for. So for instance, an egg will tell you that it is used in an omelet. But does that mean that you only use an egg in a cooking station and you create an omelet, or does that mean you need 2 eggs, or you need something else to be added to that? Well, you can try that out yourself. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. It doesn't create anything. But if it does, well, congratulations, you just made an omelet without actually knowing what you needed for the omelet, and voila, you've got the crafting recipe right there in your hands, which is a cool little added element. It doesn't really add a giant amount of stuff, and it doesn't make you think insanely long, but at least it adds a little something where you don't have this like, oh well, you don't have this piece of paper that tells you to use like 2 eggs to make an omelet. You can just use the eggs to make the omelet instead. What this game does better than traditional games in D&D like Baldur's Gate 3 or Divinity Original Sin 2 is that it doesn't really slowly level you up, but you very quickly start to feel yourself getting stronger if you do it tactically. So as you continue throughout the game, you can have 6 characters in your party. As you start the game with your 1 character or 2 characters as you play the game, you're gonna notice that you're not really that good at fighting, and you're gonna have to pick your fights instead of just rushing into everything. You're gonna have to play very tactically, and you're gonna have to make sure that whatever class you're using, you're really playing into that class, or you're not gonna get the time of day with this type of game. As you create these 6 different characters, you're actually going to be able to look at these characters, change their armor, their weapons, and whatnot to really get catered towards their class, towards how they work. And there's something for you there too, because next to the traditional characters like you would find in a Baldur's Gate 3, you're actually able to have your own custom characters. You basically pay a mercenary a certain amount of gold, and very simply, after you've done that, you just create the character. You create a 2nd character or a 3rd character. Hell, you can have a full party of 6 characters, all custom characters, none of them that are part of the story, because that's also, of course, in a game like this, when you have characters that aren't custom characters, they're gonna be a part of the story. It does feel unique while also still feeling similar and familiar to what you're used to, which makes me really love it. And that on top of like a good story, because it is an interesting story told in a pretty damn good way, you're gonna have a really fun game to play. Trust me, this is some good stuff here. I might not have played countless hours of this game, not like I have for instance Baldur's Gate 3, but that's because this is of course also shorter. You might think to yourself, oh well, why is it shorter? Because it's made by one guy. One guy is making this guy, I'm following him on Twitter and whatnot. He's just simply like enjoying life and making a game at the same time, which I absolutely love and adore. So you're also supporting a very wholesome, nice man when you're buying a game like this. Then we have the sounds. Now, most of the sounds are pretty basic when you look into like the combat sounds and whatnot, but I swear to God, having that critical hit, like oomph, where you like really kill the character with like a heavy hit, there's like the oomph, it sounds so good. And what really helps set the tone, and it's so important when you play games like this, is the soundtrack. The soundtrack is done so incredibly well. There are so many nice, interesting songs that set the tone of what area you're in. So when you're in a safer area or in a more special, weird area, the music is going to change according to that. Now, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to put the music in this video because it might be copyrighted, but if that's the case, then there's gonna be music playing right now. And if not, then I probably put something else in there. I honestly don't have much more to say about Skald, which makes this a pretty short video where I talk about an indie game that you probably never even heard of. But if you want to play a video game like Baldur's Gate 3, it's really fun, well made, you're supporting someone very nice, then I suggest you buy Skald and you go into 2025 playing the best indie game of 2024. Now, before this video actually ends, I have to thank anyone who's been loyally following me and watching my videos. Even if you don't know who I am, thank you very much for clicking on this video. 2024 was my best year, and even then, it still wasn't a crazy year compared to a lot of people. But hey, I'm above 1,000 subscribers. Thank you very much for that, by the way, for anyone who has actually followed me this entire time. I hope that in 2025, we can create a bit of a closer-knit community. I'm working on a Discord. There's like a whole bunch of stuff that's going to happen in 2025 I'm really excited to push into this new year. So if you're interested in that, why not subscribe and leave a comment down below to let me know what you think about the Discord, about the game, about anything that you want to talk about, because right now this is the only way to communicate. Anyhow, like I said, thank you very much for this beautiful year, and I'm just gonna finish this video just like this. I'm not gonna recommend you to any other video because I feel like if you've made it this far, all I can really do is thank you for supporting me, and bye bye.